we've got to talk about a number so big it almost sounds fake, a number that just might define America's entire future. And no, it's not what the government is spending on new roads or new schools. It's the bill coming due from money it already spent years ago.
$970 billion. That's the interest payment on the U.S. national debt for this year. Just let that sink in for a second. This isn't money for healthcare or the military or anything productive. It's just the fee for borrowing. This number has almost tripled since just 2020. We're talking about $2.4 billion burned every single day.
And this is where it gets really crazy. For the very first time, that interest payment is the second largest federal expense. The only thing bigger is Social Security. It costs more than the entire national defense budget. It costs more than Medicare. You know, when the bill for your past decisions costs more than what you're spending to protect your future, you've hit a serious turning point.
And here's the thing. Every great empire in history, from Rome to the British, they all reached this exact point. It's the moment their debt stopped being a number on a spreadsheet and it became their destiny.
So to figure out where we might be heading, you've got to look back. Because believe it or not, this isn't a new story. It's a pattern, a cycle that has played out again and again and again.
Just look at the British Empire. World War I was its financial breaking point. I mean, to fund that war, Britain borrowed so much money that its debt exploded to 148% of its entire economy. And even after the war, when they were running surpluses, the debt just kept growing. And that's when its global power started to slip away, until finally, after World War II, it was handed over to the United States.
You know that saying, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes? Well, right now, that rhyme is deafening. Just look at the parallels here. The British Empire in the 1920s and the US today, the debt-to-GDP ratios are almost identical. Both empires moved away from hard money, Britain ditched the gold standard, and the US has been printing money on a massive scale. And just as London faded as the world's financial center, well, today, the US dollar's dominance is being seriously challenged.
So why? Why does this keep happening? Well, it really boils down to politics and psychology. When leaders face a debt crisis, they've got two options. Option A is painful austerity. You know, cutting spending, raising taxes, the stuff that gets you voted out of office. Option B is the easy way out. Just print more money. And historically, they almost always choose to print. Why? Because the pain is hidden. It's spread out invisibly through inflation instead of through immediate, very visible cuts. The big takeaway is that this isn't just an economic problem, it's a political one.
Okay, so this isn't just some big, abstract problem for governments and historians to worry about. This massive national credit card bill, it has a very real impact on you, your wallet, and your family's future.
Let's talk about something called the crowding out effect. Basically, when the government borrows trillions of dollars, it's like a giant vacuum cleaner sucking up all the available money in the economy. Money that could have gone to businesses to build new factories, innovate, and create jobs. In fact, the Congressional Budget Office estimates that for every single dollar the government borrows, private investment falls by 33 cents. And the result of that? Fewer jobs and lower wages for everybody else.
And you can see the results of this everywhere. A stunning 68% of American adults are now living paycheck to paycheck. And get this, that includes a lot of people earning over $100,000 a year. How is that even possible? Well, it's because when the government prints money to handle its debt, the value of every dollar in your pocket goes down. It's that invisible tax of inflation, and it's absolutely hammering regular households.
And it's not just happening at home. The rest of the world is paying very close attention. Back in the year 2000, the US dollar made up over 70% of the world's reserves. Today, that's dropped all the way down to 58%. Countries like China, Russia, and India are actively moving their money into other things, like gold and other currencies. The empire still looks strong on the outside, but its financial foundations are seriously leveraged.
So we've seen how this debt hits your wallet and how it affects America's place in the world. But to really get a grip on where this whole thing is headed, we need a bigger map. And for that, we can turn to the investor Ray Dalio, who has this brilliant framework he calls the big debt cycle.
What's amazing is how consistent this cycle is throughout all of history. It starts with hard money, something like gold. Then countries figure out credit, which leads to massive debt bubbles. Eventually, those bubbles always burst. And when they do, the government has to step in and print tons of money to keep the system from collapsing, which, of course, leads to the final stage. The currency gets devalued and the whole financial system has to reset.
So when you look at that five-stage cycle, it just begs the question, doesn't it?
Where does the United States fall in this predictable historical pattern?
Well, according to Dalio's model, the U.S. is very late in stage 4, right on the edge of stage 5. We're deep in the phase where the government has already printed historic amounts of money. Just think back to 2008 and 2020, and now we're facing the consequences of that, basically teetering on the brink of that final reset.
And this brings us right back to that critical political choice we talked about. When an empire's debts just become too big to handle, it has a decision to make: default on its debt or print more money. And as Dalio's work shows, history is undefeated here. It always chooses to print.
Okay, so the historical parallels are frankly a little terrifying, and the debt cycle model is pretty convincing. But does that mean collapse is just baked into the cake? Is it inevitable? Or is there another way out?
Well, here's the twist. Unlike empires of the past, the U.S. is facing this crisis at a moment of unbelievable technological revolution. Think about it. Innovations in AI, the shift to green energy, and brand new financial systems like decentralized finance, these things could unleash waves of productivity and growth so powerful they could actually break the cycle. It's like reaching economic escape velocity.
But, and this is a big but, technology is not a magic wand. These innovations can give us the runway we need to find a solution, but they can't make the hard choices for us. The real challenge, the fundamental problem, is still political. It's about finding the collective willpower to actually reform spending and create a financial future that's sustainable.
At the end of the day, history teaches us one very sobering lesson. Change is the only thing that's guaranteed. The systems we all rely on today, they are not permanent. And, realizing that isn't about being pessimistic, it's just being realistic. It's the first step to actually adapting to whatever comes next.
So that $970 billion interest payment, it's not just a number in a budget. It's a symptom of a much deeper challenge. And it forces all of us to ask a really fundamental question. Is this the beginning of America's fall? Or is it the final deafening wake-up call it needs to reinvent itself? Because empires don't end when they run out of money. They end when they stop believing they can create more.